Welcome to this session. We are considering the Tapa, the third of the Niyamas. It's rendered as austerity. The Tapa comes in every realm of life, from stark materialism to supreme spirituality. Therefore, the general meaning of tapas is quite flexible. When someone puts extraordinary endeavor to excel, to exalt over average attainment of a human being, it gets called as tapas. That somebody has been in austerity to excel in the field. So it can be in any field of activity, profession, art form. So that's the meaning of tapas, where we have seen earlier very etymological meaning of it suggests that there is something to do with the heat, and therefore we termed it as bio-psycho-thermodynamics. But when it comes in Shastras, it starts getting specific meaning. Like the tapas, when it comes in Dharma Marga, it has one kind of meaning. And therefore, as I said towards the end of the last session, we are going to compare between Dharmya Tapa and Yogika Tapa. What is really the specific meaning of tapas when it comes to yoga? And it is comparable to the concept of tapas that comes in Dharma. Dharma, Dharmavartanam, Dharmacharana is tapoputa. That means it is subsumed by tapasya. It is subsumed by tapas. It is not possible to be in the path of dharma not being in tapas, because it needs a lot of restraints and observances, scrupulous observances, and of course superhuman restraints. So without being in tapas, it is very difficult to be in the path of dharma, and that too uncompromising dharma, or very scrupulously being in dharma. So Dharmacharanam is always Tapocharanam. You cannot have Dharmacharanam without Tapocharanam. So that is the close relationship of Dharma and Tapas. So Dharmapravartanam, Dharmapaalanam, Dharmapravritti, Dharmavritti, these are all facets of Tapa. And without Tapa, it is not possible. They are all Tapachara. They are all Tapocharanam, Tapasevanam. So the Dharmapaalanam is Pristhiti sapeksha. It is relative to situation, condition. So it is taking into considerations the tapas comes up. Like if you are fasting because of destitution, then that fasting is not tapas. You have to but be fasting because you are a destitute. But having lot of food around to be fasting becomes tapas. So, facing cold climate like the winter climate, winter weather, which is extremely cold and generally one doesn't withstand it unless some measures are taken. But if somebody doesn't take measures despite that, and therefore not putting on leather clothes and woolen clothes, then that can be a kind of tapas. So it depends upon the situation and condition that we have around. Like being in hot temperatures in a tropical place where the temperatures are soaring to 50 degrees, to be there is not tapas. But to create those temperatures and stay there, create that temperature by certain measures and then stay there is tapas. So that's the relativity in tapas. So what is against our propensity, tendency, or trying to define the conditions that one is caught, then it becomes tapas. So that's why it is relative. Now Dharmapaalanam is also some such thing which is to be going against the natural propensities, natural tendencies. And therefore there is the tapasya, there is the tapas. So the point is Pristhiti, Antahasthiti. Pristhiti means situation around. Antahasthiti means condition within. Now one needs to conquer something, and when one is trying to conquer it, defy the conditions around, defy the conditions within, then it becomes tapasya. And without that there is no dharma. Dharma is not so natural, but we will have to observe and have restraints. We will have to definitely make some substantial endeavor. Otherwise, Dharmapaalanam is not very natural. So therefore, Dharmacharanam itself becomes Tapocharanam. That itself becomes tapas. So, if the man is advised to be in the path of Dharma by Shastras, that means Shastras are also suggesting tapas, Tapocharanam. Now, in what form does it come? In Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, there is a wonderful precept in the 16th chapter called Daivasura Sampatti Vibhaga Yoga. There, we are told that there are certain divine endowments, godly endowments. Those are to be attained, and those are to be maintained, and those are to be protected, and those are to be encouraged and enhanced. So whatever is done for that purpose is tapas. So Dharma will always tell you to be nurturing, enhancing, encouraging, striving, collecting the Daivi Sampada. There is no Dharma which says compromise with Daivi Sampada and yet you will be in Dharma. So there is something to be conquered in Dharma. That is Daivi Sampada, which is beautifully listed in Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter. One can go into those qualities which are mentioned as Daivi Sampada. So also one needs to refrain from asuri sampada, the demonic dispositions. It is natural to be in demonic disposition. We don't have to really strive and struggle hard to be in demonic dispositions. All kind of ill things, ill things can be embraced without any special endeavor. There is no struggle, where we can easily embrace the sinister tendencies. The ill kind of activities will be easily taken up. And therefore the tapas comes there when we have to restrain ourselves. So therefore, human life based on good values has tapas. One has to struggle to attain, believe and live good values, live in good values, embrace good values, noble values. So that needs tapas. And to be refraining from asuri sampada, bad conduct, bad behavior, all ills of life. So we need to be restraining from that. So therefore you also encounter tapas in both the ways. So damanam of asuri sampada is also injunction that comes in dharma, Dharmacharana, Dharma Shastra. So to refrain from kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsaryam, it needs special endeavor, and therefore it needs tapas. And to be inculcating shamadama, titiksha, uparati, jnana, vairagya, shanti, samadhan, which are the shat sampattis or shat sampada, that is all daivi. To be attaining and nurturing that, collecting that, encouraging that also needs tapas. So that's why in Dharma Marga the tapas is of the nature of this. To be weaning away from shat ripus and embracing shat sampada, this endeavor is paramount in dharma sadhana, in dharmachar, and therefore there is tapas of that form. So in yoga also you will understand that there are restraints on observations such as yama and niyama. So there similarly in yoga also you will find the tapas of the same form. Ahimsa, to be in ahimsa, to be in ahimsa, not to compromise with ahimsa itself is tapas. So also to be in satya and not to compromise with satya and not to get away from satya is also seen to be Tapocharanam. Without tapasya that won't be possible. So is the case of asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Point is, all the 5 yamas, if they are to be imbibed, inculcated and practiced and uncompromisingly practiced, then it entails tapas. Without tapas that won't be possible. So also meticulously observing the niyamas, which are shaucha, santosha, apart from what we are discussing. Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhan, which we are going to discuss later. Not to be compromising in observances is also tapas. So, yamaniyamas are subsumed, permeated by tapas. So also is the case of other limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, like asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. The tapa becomes the measure. tapa becomes the means. So without adherence to tapas, one cannot be in the Ashtanga Marga, Ashtanga Yoga Marga. So all the Ashtangas and the Upangas, Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Svadhyaya, Ishwaranidhan, Asan, Bahya Pranayam, Abhyantar Pranayam, Stambha Pranayam, Sthula Pranayam, Sukshma Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. All these limbs and sublimbs are structured by tapas. But, however, there is some difference in the tapas of higher planes of yoga, higher hierarchies in yoga, which Vyasa has clearly mentioned. The chitta should be akshubdha, the chitta should be akshobha. The tapas should be practiced in a way that the chitta is akshubdha and akshobha, that the chitta is not agitated. Because when you are doing tapas, naturally chitta will be in some sort of irritation, agitation, discomfiture and discomfort. Tapas is not comfort and never a comfort. Tapas will be always bringing discomfort in one's life. But however, the yoga of Madhyamadhikari and above, their tapas is not of that nature of torment. And that is an important instruction which comes in the science of yoga. However, the earlier part of yoga, sadhaka avastha, arambha avastha, the tapas is indispensable and tapas is only the means. So, how the tapas comes in such form is unique. Dharma never says that you should be in tapas of that kind. But however, it is specifically mentioned in yoga that the tapas should be of that kind, that it doesn't prick, it doesn't torment, it doesn't create agitation in the chitta. The placidity of the chitta must be intact. In Dharma, it doesn't say that. Whether the chitta is intact, the placidity is intact or not, the tapas should be followed. But in yoga, for essential yoga, quintessential yoga, that's an important condition. The point is, any practical practice aspects of yoga, which might be kaya, vacha, manasa, shvasa, prana, the tapas is indispensable. The tapas will be permeating it. Now, we just saw the classification of kayika tapa, vachika tapa, manasika tapas. So, kayika tapas can be understood by common man's IQ. But then, that is the discipline of the body, how the body must be in discipline, how the tendencies of the body should not be sprouting in the mind, how those should be discouraged. And we have seen the Sharirika tapas, Kayika tapas described by Bhagavad Gita. This was in our last session. Then the Vachika tapas and Manasika tapas also can be understood from the definition given in Bhagavad Gita. We must try to draw some instructions for us from those three kinds of tapas mentioned here, in Bhagavad Gita rather. But let me tell you here that we can easily understand the tapas is coming in all the earlier limbs. The yamas as well as niyamas. Now this is the third niyama, Shaucha Santosha Tapas. Now with reference to Vangmaya Tapas, one of the great, all-time great saints of Maharashtra, Jnaneshwar Maharaj, beautifully refers to the Swadhyaya as tapas of Vacha, Vagendriya Tapas, Vangmaya Tapas. He beautifully describes that. And he said the Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means Vedadhyayanam, Shastradhyayanam. So it is not just reading. Like you read a novel, you cannot be just reading scriptures and adhyatmic texts, the gathas. It's a different reading than reading a newspaper. So, to be in Swadhyaya studying Vedas, Veda Shastras, Vedanta Shastras, Vedodbalak Shastras, which are supportive Shastras to Veda, they are possible by Vangmaya Tapas, which we refer to as Vachik Tapas. And Jnaneshwar Maharaj, in his commentary 17.222, he beautifully puts it as Rugvedadi Tini Pratisthijati Vagbhuvani Keli Jaisi Vadani Brahmashala. This is Vangmaya Tapas, best form of, a complete form of, accomplishing form of Vangmaya Tapas. Rugvedadi Tini, all the three Vedas are established in Vagendriya. The Vagendriya, the organ of speech, is in four planes: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. So these Vedas and Vedic wisdom must be established in all the four planes of speech. And then making the speech organ as Brahmashala, Academy of Jnana, Academy of Veda, and Academy of Adhyatmic Jnana. So making the speech as a very academy of Adhyatma Shastra. That would be Vangmaya Tapas. It is not just keeping polished speech. It is not just refraining from illful talks, bad talks, and always be in good talk. But he says that making it as Academy of Veda, Veda Shastra, Vedanta Shastra itself is Vangmaya Tapas. So this is Swadhyaya. Moksha Shastranam Adhyayanam, Dharma Shastranam Adhyayanam, Yoga Shastranam Adhyayanam. So these are Shastras: Veda Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Sankhya Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Adhyatma Shastra, Gita Shastra, Upanishad Shastra. All these Arsha Shastras are subject matter for Vangmaya Tapas or speechly tapas. And of course it can be easily understood that to be in Satya, Satyakara Hitakara Vakyam, Satyakara Hitakara Priyakara Vakyam, that is, the speech must be Satyakara Hitakara Priyakara. Then that is also tapas. Now I will give you the simple example of Satya hita priya vachanam. What is this kind of speech? What will you say if it has to be of this kind? It is like mother or father telling the child, my dear child, please carry out your swadhyaya with a shanta chitta, with a placid mind. And then you will have comprehensive kalyana. You will have comprehensive well-being of yours. Carry out the study of Veda Shastra in a quiet and serene mind. And that will be for your wellness and well-being, kalyanam. So this is a statement which is a kind of truth, which is satyakara, hitakara, priyakara. Anyway, now we need to understand that the tapas needs to be sattvic rather than rajasic, tamasic, and particularly in yoga and all levels of yoga and in higher levels of dharma, the sattvic tapas becomes important. So let's look at the description of sattvic tapas as given by some of the bhashyakaras on Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita tells us about sattvic tapas, where it has been described how it is in Kaya Vacha Manasa. The Shankara Bhashya on Bhagavad Gita says, Yuktaihi Samahitaihi. That is, sattvic tapas is in Yukta Avastha, Yoga Avastha, with complete concord within. Samahitaihi, it is always a balanced state. The sattvic tapas will not be imbalanced state but perfectly balanced state. Imbalance comes in the polarity of Rajoguna and polarity of Tamoguna. So yuktaihi samahitaihi is what Shankaracharya describes it. Ramanujacharya also says yuktaihi paramapurusharadhanam rupam. Yuktaihi. So how do you get this yuktavastha? He specifies it. Parama purusharadhanam. Aradhana of Parama Purusha, that is Bhagavad Aradhana, Ishwar Aradhana. Not in such Aradhana, mind won't be yukta. So this is the yogic trick. That is, the mind has to be in balanced state. The best recourse is to be in Bhagavad Aradhana or Ishwar Aradhana, and that's why Ramanujacharya specifically mentions it. Yuktaihi paramapurusharadhanam rupam. Then Madhvacharya also further clarifies, he says yuktaihi bhagavadarpanadi yoga yuktaihi. Bhagavadarpanam. There must be bhagavadarpanam, that we must be in subserviency of Bhagavan. We must be offering whatever we do to Bhagavan, and that gives balanced state. So that's how the sattvic tapas is described. Now coming to Vyasa's mention about tapas. So you get the specific direction of tapas which is advocated in Niyamanga, in Niyamas. Patanjali has very aphoristically, briefly mentioned that, and Vyasa expands on it by describing the fruition and fructification. consequence and result, outcome of tapas. Patanjali mentions Kayendra Siddhihi Ashuddhikshayaha. So these are the effects. Kayendriya Siddhi, the Siddhi or the power of Kaya and Indriya, whereby there is Ashuddhikshaya. That means refrainment from dushpravrutti, refrainment from ill conduct, and all those the bad aspects of human character, when they are diminishing, departure, that is Ashuddhikshaya. Basically, Shadripus. The Shadripus must be waning out, and that is Ashuddhikshaya. So that's how the tapas in yoga has been specifically mentioned. In niyamas it is specifically mentioned. Now, in the dharma doesn't just specifically mention it. So it gets specifically mentioned in yoga. That's the difference between the Dharmya Tapas and Yogic Tapas. And Patanjali has clearly mentioned it, and Vyasa opens it out by way of certain observances, Kruchra, Chandrayana, Santapanadi, Vratas, Vrata Vaikalyas, etc. So, there we can certainly see the difference between the tapas in the realm of yoga and in the realm of that higher condition of human life, but not in yoga. Not yoga, but higher Dharmapravartanam, Dharmavritti, Dharmacharana, etc. Now, I would like to draw your attention to a quotation from Srimad Mahabharatam 3.211.8. Indriyanyeva sayyamya tapo bhavati nanyatha. So Mahabharata says tapas might be very anywhere. It must be having Indriya Sanyamam, whether even it is materialism, non-spiritual tapas, spiritual tapas, adhyatmik tapas, paramarthik tapas, laukika tapas, there must be Indriya Sanyama. Otherwise the Indriyas, that means they are major detonators of tapas. What is spoiling the tapas is tendencies of the senses, frolicking of the senses. So, Mahabharata makes an emphatic statement, Indriyanyeva sanyamya tapo bhavati nanyatha. And there is a lot of truth in what the sage, the seer in Mahabharata tells us. And Patanjali has picked up this. Kayendriya siddhihi ashuddhikshayat tapasaha. So we can see underlying Mahabharata wisdom. So, the tapas on primary plane is Kaya Vacha Manasa, Kaya Vacha Indriya Manasa. Antarbahya Karanas are to be restrained, are to be controlled, are to be regulated. And there is no Kaya Siddhi apart from this. You cannot be totally removing the samyama, regulation over Kaya, Vacha, Manasa and Indriya, and then try to imagine a form of tapas. This will be improbable. Through the instrument of body, man can perform superhuman feats. By certain austerities on the plane of body, mind will perform certain feats. But that is not Kaya Siddhi. The Kaya Siddhi is of the nature of Anima, Mahima, garima, lagima, etc. And that will be discussed later in Patanjali's text. So Ashtamaha Siddhis of yoga. There are some Siddhis which are pertaining to kaya, pertaining to body, buoyancy, heaviness, then greatness of body, atomization of body. So these are the Siddhis with reference to Shariram. So that is Sharira Siddhi. That is Kaya Siddhi. Then another apt definition you come across in Vyasa's comment. He says, Tapas is dvandva sahanyam. To put up with dualities easily, or to be having ability to put up with dualities, is tapas. This is the form of tapas which is very much yogic, very much required in yoga, dvandva sahanyam. And therefore that itself is tapas. Because the tapas, the dvandvas are both on the plane of body and mind. The dvandvas are such as kshuddha pipasa, hunger and thirst. We know this is with relation to body. Shitoshnam. So, putting up with or regulating kshuddha pipasa and shitoshnam. That is dvandva sahanyam. So also there are other forms such as uncompromising sthanikata. To be in one place uncompromisingly without movement. A long time, for a long duration, one is steady in body condition, doesn't move. Then that is also tapas. That needs dvandva sahanyam. So it is testing one's constancy, testing one's tolerance. So there is something that is called as asana maunam. That is to be in asana sthira sthavara achala nischala. To be steady in body, that is which is needed in yoga. Where our tolerance is tested. Then kashta mauna, sarvanga mauna, akara mauna are some aspects of Vangmaya Mauna. And then having constancy, tolerance, steadfastness, which are from the mind. So that's how the Maunam has been described. At this juncture, let me tell you that Maunam is an important aspect of Vangmaya Tapas. Maunam is not translatable again into any other language. It is usually rendered as silence, observing silence, oral silence. That is considered to be Maunam. But the Maunam has a greater depth and greater significance. So just to briefly tell you about this fascinating information, let me tell you that we have 4 kinds of speeches. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. Vaikhari is the express speech. So there is Maunam of Vaikhari, because that's a form of speech. Madhyama is form of speech. So there is Maunam of Madhyama. There is Pashyanti kind of speech, and therefore there is Maunam of Pashyanti. And there is Paravani, therefore there is Maunam of Paravani. So in Adhyatma and in Yoga Shastra, these are important revelations given to us with respect to Maunam. Otherwise, usually Maunam is just considered to be not talking, mouth sealed. And that is what is the popular meaning of maunam, which people observe for a day or so, that they are not going to open the mouth at all for any reason. So that is Vaikhari Maunam. Vaikhari Maunam is interesting in the sense, by not opening the mouth, it has a marvel. What is the marvel of it? If you don't open your mouth, one of the consequences is that your stupidity gets concealed. That is the way to conceal one's stupidity. Don't open the mouth. Because many times people open the mouth and let out the stupidity for others to cognize. So the stupidity gets exposed because of our oral activity, what we speak aloud. So by observing that maunam, we have the advantage of concealing our stupidity. And that's why many people are advised, please don't open your mouth. Now when you close your mouth, it veils whatever stupidity you have within you. So that's a major kind of endowment. And of course, such kind of silence will also give rest to your oral organ, vocal organ. But many times people do not open the mouth for language, but use gestures for convenience. Or many times they keep a slate and a chalk handy, and whatever they want to say by mouth, they write it down. This is a compromise for conveniency of life. You are not speaking, but you are writing what you want to speak. But then understand, very scrupulous maunam would not even allow that. Or people make gestures to make people know what one wants to speak, but not speaking because of observance of maunam. But that also should not be entertained. When you are scrupulously in maunam. So that is the Vaikhari Maunam. Then there is Madhyama Maunam. Madhyama Maunam means the thought structure which underlies your speech. Although sometimes we say it is thoughtlessly spoken out. Somebody is thoughtlessly speaking. It is not thoughtlessly speaking, it is improper thought behind the speech. There can be never thoughtlessness in human mind. But when the thought is incompatible, thought is improper, thought is gone awry, and then we speak with the thought, that is said to be thoughtless speech. So thoughtless speech is not thoughtless speech. Improper thought without propriety, thought without properness, incompatibility, wrong thought, insufficient thought, improper thought behind the speech. That is thoughtless speech. So understand the expression, the meaning when it is used, somebody is speaking thoughtlessly. Now, that means the speech has always underlying thought, either proper, suitable, deficient or sufficient. There is always a thought. Proper or improper, there is always a thought. Right or wrong, there is always a thought. Now, Madhyama Maunam means not to have that thought also. Then comes the Pashyanti. This is Sanskara Maunam. This is very much yogic and this is of yogis. The yogis will have Sanskara Vritti Nirodha. That is not influenced by Vyuthana Sanskars, outgoing Sanskars, distracting Sanskars. This is only possible to yogi. Pashyanti Maunam. That doesn't allow the impact of experience on the psychic consciousness, insulating it to experience. And of course, the para maunam is in ecstasy of God realization. So what must be restrained when somebody is directly experiencing Ishvara, Atma, Paramatma by Yoga Pratyaksha? So that would be a complete yoga. That would be complete what is called as Sarva Vritti Nirodha of yoga. That is Paramaunam. So what I want to bring to your notice is that Chitta Vritti Nirodha has lot to do with Vangmaya aspect. We easily relate to Chitta. Chitta Vritti Nirodha Yogaha. So we relate it to Chitta and Chitta Vritti. But it is important that the Vangmaya aspect, fourfold speech, also needs to be understood in the structuring of Chitta Vritti Nirodha and that kind of yoga. So the Vangmaya Tapas can take you to Acme condition of yoga. The restraint in Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, and then Para, which will be supreme yoga. So that's how this is an additional information that I wanted to give you about Maunam with reference to Chaturvyuha or fourfold speech which Adhyatma speaks about. So that should be enough for the day. We will proceed on this tapas in our next session. Namaskar all of you.